The internet didn't just shake, it exploded. When the United States officially placed Jungkook at 1, the headline alone was enough to send millions into a frenzy. But the real shock wasn't the ranking itself. It wasn't even the speed at which he climbed. The true earthquake came moments later when the world realized who he had defeated to get there. Jungkook dominates America, the figure he surpassed, bigger than anyone imagined. For years, many predicted that the youngest member of BTS would eventually carve out his own path in the global music industry. They saw the charisma, they saw the voice, they saw the stage presence that felt almost unreal. But even the most loyal supporters didn't fully anticipate this level of domination, not in the United States, the most competitive music market on Earth. When the ranking was released, verified by industry authorities including Billboard, the numbers told a story so powerful that even critics had to pause. Streaming totals in the hundreds of millions, digital sales that outpaced projections, radio airplay climbing at a rate rarely seen for a solo Korean artist, social media engagement that dwarfed established Western icons. And then came the comparison. Because climbing to 1 in America isn't just about being popular, it means overtaking giants. It means stepping into a battlefield where the competition includes names like Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, and Drake. These aren't just artists, they are institutions, they are cultural forces with legacies built over more than a decade of dominance. Yet in this particular race, Jungkook didn't just compete, he surged ahead. The silence that followed was almost poetic. For years, the narrative surrounding Asian artists in the American market carried an invisible ceiling. Yes, BTS had broken barriers. Yes, collaborations had opened doors, but a solo act reaching the summit and not merely touching it for a week but holding it with undeniable metrics rewrote the conversation entirely. Fans were screaming across timelines, "He did it! History made again! This is bigger than we thought!" But beyond the emotional celebration, analysts were scrambling. How did this happen so quickly? How did a solo release generate numbers that rivaled and surpassed artists who have been dominating US charts for years? Part of the answer lies in timing, part of it lies in preparation, and a massive portion lies in Jungkook's transformation from idol to global pop titan. The American market thrives on authenticity blended with spectacle. Jungkook brought both. His sound evolution showed confidence, a seamless fusion of pop, R&B, and subtle global influences that felt natural rather than manufactured. His performances radiated a calm authority, the kind that doesn't beg for validation because it knows it already has it. But here, where the story turns electric. The artist he dethroned wasn't struggling. It wasn't a quiet week. It wasn't a gap in competition. The rival in question was riding a strong promotional wave backed by radio campaigns, playlist placements, and massive domestic fanbases. Insiders expected the throne to remain untouched. Then Jungkook's numbers updated. Streaming platforms reported surges that defied forecasting models. Sales data refreshed with figures so sharp that industry watchers refreshed their dashboards twice to confirm accuracy. And within hours, the conclusion was unavoidable. He had overtaken one of the most powerful figures in Western pop during their active promotional cycle. That's when disbelief turned into awe. Because winning when the field is weak is one thing, winning when the field is at full strength, that's dominance. American audiences didn't just stream out of curiosity. They replayed, they shared, they debated. The song became a conversation starter in dorm rooms, office breaks, and late-night group chats. Radio DJs admitted off-air that listener requests were unusually intense. The cultural ripple was visible. Critics who once described him as a member of a phenomenon were forced to rewrite their language. He wasn't writing a group's legacy, he was building his own empire. Behind the scenes, industry executives reportedly monitored the trajectory with both admiration and calculation. The United States market has long been considered the ultimate validation test for global artists. Jungkook didn't just pass it, he recalibrated expectations. And yet, perhaps the most fascinating element wasn't the numbers themselves, it was the emotional resonance. When Jungkook stood on stage during his recent US appearance, there was a shift in his aura. The boyish Maknae energy had evolved into something steadier, more grounded. He looked like someone who understood the magnitude of what he had accomplished but wasn't finished yet. Fans noticed subtle changes too, the confidence in interviews, the controlled power in live vocals, the quiet smile when congratulated. It wasn't arrogance, it was certainty. Meanwhile, the defeated competitor's fandom reacted with a mixture of shock and reluctant respect. Social platforms buzzed with comparisons. How did this happen? Are global fandoms now stronger than domestic bases? Is this the new era? The truth is, Jungkook's rise reflects something larger than a single chart position. It represents globalization reaching a new stage. It represents language barriers dissolving in the face of melody and emotion. It represents a shift where an artist from Seoul can command streaming behavior in Los Angeles as naturally as a local superstar. Even his agency, HYBE, seemed to anticipate the storm but not the scale. Internal strategies focused on international growth, yes, but the velocity of this breakthrough exceeded projections. What makes the story even more dramatic is the psychological factor. For years, comparisons between Jungkook and Western megastars floated online, sometimes playfully, sometimes competitively, but comparisons are theoretical, rankings are concrete. And now there it was in black and white. One Jungkook. Below him the giants. The symbolism is powerful. The United States, often seen as the epicenter of mainstream pop culture, had placed him at the summit. It wasn't a collaboration credit, it wasn't a group statistic, it was his name alone. The reaction in Korea was explosive pride. Headlines celebrated the achievement as another milestone in cultural export. Meanwhile, American outlets cautiously acknowledged what could no longer be denied. A new force had fully arrived. But here's the twist that adds even more intrigue. This might only be the beginning. Market analysts are already predicting that sustained presence in the US will depend on follow-up releases, touring power, and consistent engagement. If Jungkook announces a solo tour across the United States, ticket demand could test infrastructure limits. If he drops another single within months, momentum might compound into something even more historic. The defeated artist, whoever fans choose to focus on in speculation, isn't disappearing. Competition remains fierce, but the psychological barrier has been broken. Jungkook has proven that he can stand toe-to-toe and win. Perhaps the most emotional reactions came from longtime supporters who remembered his early audition clips. The shy teenager with oversized hoodies and nervous laughter now commands the largest music market in the world. That arc feels cinematic. And yet, Jungkook himself remains disarmingly humble. In interviews, he often deflects praise toward fans. He speaks about growth rather than victory. He frames milestones as stepping stones rather than endpoints. But make no mistake, this moment matters. Because history in pop culture is measured not only by longevity but by turning points, this feels like one. When future artists from Asia step into the American arena, they won't be entering uncharted territory. They'll be walking through a door that Jungkook helped push wider, alone. The charts will change next week. They always do. Music is fluid, trends evolve, but the psychological imprint of this ranking will linger. Jungkook dominated America, not hypothetically, not symbolically, literally. And the figure he defeated, bigger than anyone imagined. So the question now is whether he belongs at the top. It's how long he plans to stay there. Because if this victory proved anything, it's that Jungkook isn't chasing validation anymore. He's setting the standard.